Good morning. This morning at 11 o'clock, as we are celebrating the Holy Communion up there at the altar, it will be exactly to the hour, accounting for local time, exactly 100 years since the armistice was announced and the fighting of World War I ended. It will be the 11th day, the 11th month, at the 11th hour. And that was when peace was first celebrated, for the first time after World War I began. An armistice is not the same thing as a permanent treaty. It was the Treaty of Versailles, which was signed in the following year, in 1919. It was the Treaty of Versailles which marked the official end of the war. But it was on this day, on November 11th, 1918, when the peace was laid down, and the soldiers on this side laid down their arms, and the soldiers on the other side laid down their arms, and finally they could perhaps see through that murky tunnel that there was a light out there, and hope for peace was built. There's a lot of hope 100 years ago that this armistice would be the end of war. There was a lot of hope that after the war to end all wars, that peace would come upon the earth, and that humanity would learn 40 million people were killed, and perhaps we would change our nature. An armistice is a wonderful declaration of hope, and you can look back at the hope that people had 100 years ago on this day, and you can say, well, weren't they naive to believe that this was the end of war? After all, don't they know human nature? Don't they know how we are, that we are bellicose? That we are prone to fighting and divisions? But in the same way, you can look back at the civil rights movement from the last 60 or 70 years, and you can say the same thing. Well, weren't those folks kind of naive? Don't they know human nature? Don't they know how we are to believe that blacks and whites can be equal? And you can go back and say, well, for the last 100 years, people have been fighting for suffrage and for women's rights. Well, aren't they naive? Don't they know human nature? Don't they know how we are, that women and men will never be equal? And you can go back further and further and further throughout history and say pretty much the same thing about every major social movement and every major campaign for a better world and every major struggle for peace and equality and bringing the goodness of God's love to the hurting places of our globe. And you can always come up with the possibility of saying, well, why would you even try? It's against our nature. Don't you know how we are? For we are like the scribes in the gospel today. We love to take things for ourselves. We love to put ourselves first. Jesus says that the scribes devour the houses of the widows. The word he uses there is a word that means to eat up. We eat the poor. We eat the vulnerable. We do whatever we can if it gets us what we want. You could say that about us. But then here comes this widow. And the way it's described in the Gospels, like Jesus and his friends are over on one side, and all of this stuff is going on at the temple, and Jesus calls them together. He calls us together. And he says to us, look, there's some hope. Because here's this widow. And there's this narrative we can have about humanity that says that we are doomed, and that says that we are bad, and says it's impossible to have anything like peace or justice or love in this world. But then out of the sight of all of that, here comes this widow. And Jesus sees it, and she puts this offering of hope in the treasury. No one else sees it, but Jesus sees her. And it's just the kind of thing that Jesus notices, this act of hope. It's like declaring an armistice in the middle of war. It's a step into the unknown. The widow, it says, has given everything she has. What's she going to do next? What a foolish thing to do. But at the same time, it's so much more brave than all the rich people who have given so much out of their abundance, for she's given everything to God. And who knows what that widow wants? Who knows what brought her to the temple today? Who knows what Thanksgiving she's offering for, or what miracle she's hoping for? Who knows? Sometimes on Sundays, I look up at the reflection of the image of the widow up there. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, but we have there in the stained glass, an image of the widow on the left-hand side. She has 2 children who are not accounted for in the gospel. But we know it's the widow because she's giving that those coins in offering. And sometimes I look up there partly to make sure she's still there, but sometimes I look up there because I let that image take me away to the place of hope where I know she is going. There's a story that really profoundly affected me. 20 years ago, when I was serving as a missionary in Honduras, I was in the big Roman Catholic cathedral, which is in the middle of Tegucigalpa, the capital city, which sat right on the town square. And it wasn't the basilica. They have a basilica, which is this huge, ornate building out in the wealthy suburbs. But this was the gritty urban church, almost like Christ Church Cathedral. I imagine us to be that way. And it ministered to all sorts of people, but in particular, there were a lot of campesinos, people from the campo, from the countryside. A lot of people who came in from the countryside to worship in this big church. And they would take the bus in the morning, and I would see them get off the bus in the morning holding in their arms bunches of flowers. Because that's how they made their money. They grew flowers up in the mountains, and they would take the flowers down into the city, and they would sell them in the marketplace. I would imagine they made probably 50 cents, 25 cents a day, but that's what they had, and that's how they made their living. And in my morning commute on the way to the church where I served, I would often stop in at the cathedral to look at the people and to pray, which is what I think you do when you're at a cathedral. You look at the people and you pray. And one morning I was in the back of my pew, I was praying, and this woman caught my eye. She was there with her 2 children. The smallest was a little bigger than that, the little child there. She didn't have a child in her arms, but she had flowers wrapped in newspaper, white flowers, maybe they were lilies, that she had grown and that she was probably going to sell for her day's wage. And as I watched her, she came in and she went to this side chapel where there was a statue of Jesus. And she went before the side chapel with her children at her side. She kneeled down and she took the flowers very carefully and she laid them at the Lord's feet. And then she put her arms up and offering some hope to God. And who knows what those flowers cost her in terms of her daily wage. Who knows what they cost her children or her husband or her family, these flowers that she could have sold in the marketplace. And who knows what she prayed for. Whether she was giving a thanksgiving for something, blessing she had received, or she was hoping for a miracle that had yet to come. But it was clearly something that was important. She didn't do this every day. And after a bit of time in prayer, she got up, she left the flowers, and she and her children walked out into the street. And I had forgotten all about that woman until I arrived here, until I began to sit here as her dean, until I began to look up there and to think for myself, what little do I do? What little do I do? What little faith do I have that I venture so little in hope? I give so little in hope. My offerings in hope are meager, and at times I would even say they're kind of pathetic because I'm just far too willing to see the bad side of human nature. I am not easily dissuaded, and I think we are often pretty naive to think that wars can end and that the world can get better. I feel like we are those who consume the houses of the poor. And too infrequently, I am the widow. Too infrequently, I am willing to give all I have in hope, but then I learn from people like her. And I learn from people like you. And I learned from reading my Bible, and I learned from Square One, and I learned from the other agencies that we are involved with. I learned from countless times spent with you that no matter what it looks like, something good will happen. For we have an amazing God. And God has always and forever acted on our behalf. And armistice lasted. And yes, there was another war that came, but there was another armistice after that because someone else had hope. We do that as Christians. As people of faith, we have these small pieces of hope that we offer that build a larger world that God imagines, for hope is the business of God. It is the business of the church. We should have a sign out there that says, don't abandon hope, all ye who enter here, but have hope, all ye who enter here. Because the community of God can scarcely do more than offer hope for what we desire and what we need and what we hope one day will come. Did you know that exactly 100 days before the armistice in 1918, that King George V, who is the grandfather of the current Queen of England, King George declared the day a national day of prayer. It was August 4th. And George and Queen Mary and the members of the Parliament went to the Church of St. Margaret in Westminster, and they did exactly what the widow did. They got on their knees and they offered hope that this horrible, horrible war would end, and exactly 100 days later it did. For God accepts our offerings. As meager as they might be, or as great as they are, God accepts the offerings of the rich kings and the poor widows and everyone in between. And offerings change the world. So today we will, among other things, take up our offerings and offer our hope to God to be blessed at this service. And I can't even begin to imagine what it is that each of you hopes for in your life. I can't imagine what you offer in thanksgiving to God, or what miracle you're hoping will still come. I can't imagine how much the sacrifice of your pledge, your offering, means to you, how great or how little it is, and I can't even imagine what it will mean to the cathedral. But I know this, that God knows, and that Jesus sees in our hearts, and Jesus knows what we do, and that God loves what we do. So if today you want to just say a prayer of thanks, that's a lot. If you want to make a pledge to the cathedral and our ministries, that's a lot. And if you want to make an offering that shows where your hope lies, that it's not in the gifts of our money, or the might of our armies, or the wisdom in our heads, but it's in the content of our hearts. And it's in the faith that we bear. And it's in seeing each other. If you want to make an offering to God for your hope, that's pretty amazing.